On this episode, we're checking in with you to see how you're doing in this troubling time of uncertainty. We have a story from José that will help your listening comprehension, and we've got some feedback from listeners around the world. Welcome to
Aprender Inglés with Reza and Craig.
Hello, and if you're a new listener to the podcast, you're very welcome. My name's Craig.
And my name's Reza.
And together with nearly 50 years of teaching experience between us, Reza and I are going to help you improve your English and take it to the next level. How are you, Reza?
I'm fine, Craig. I'm doing well in isolation. How are you?
I'm still in isolation. We're still in the time of the coronavirus. We hope you are all well and healthy and your family are too. And it's kind of weird because we always try and make these podcasts evergreen, which means we try to make them not be very time specific. So you can listen and improve your English in 1 year, in 2 years, in 10 years' time and still get some value from the podcast. But it's really hard, isn't it, Reza, to speak about general things without speaking about the virus, because it's so much in our lives at the moment.
That's right, because the circumstances of our recording remind us permanently. Craig and I, of course, are not in the same room at the moment. We usually physically meet because it's easier and the audio quality is perhaps a little bit better if you're able to meet. But of course, that would be illegal right now. By law, we're not allowed to meet.
And we like to do it because we like to have lunch together. That's another reason why we get together.
Yeah. And that would also be illegal, no social eating.
Yeah.
So we're recording via internet.
We have a voice message to kick off and start this week from Karina from Cádiz.
Hi, Greg. I'm very glad to hear you both are very well. This virus outbreak is affecting everybody, some more than others, and I'm very concerned about all consequences this virus leaves at the end. Personally, I'm doing well. I haven't lost my job, and none of my family has been affected. I can say that I'm lucky, and if I compare to others who are going through a bad time, I have no any problem to say that I'm passing through a bad time. I am also taking positive takeaways from this by spending most of my time on studying English. Overall, you're fantastic postcard and relaxing. Who knows, I may get a good habit of studying a bit every day. This current situation should mean a lot for all of us. It's time to show our responsibility toward this problem in order to avoid spreading the virus. Hope everything goes to an end soon. By the way, my name is Karina.
Thank you very much, Karina, for your message. Any comments, Reza?
Yes, I thought that was a very, very good message, and I understood everything.
Yes, it was a wonderful message, Karina. Thanks very much for reaching out and getting in touch. Anything that you really liked in Karina's message, Reza?
Yes, I really like the use of the phrase, personally, I'm doing well. That was very authentic. That's exactly the sort of thing a native speaker would say if you ask somebody in a situation that's affecting more than one person. Well, how are you doing? It's very typical to say, personally, I'm doing well, beginning with the word personally.
Although there's one thing that you could improve, Karina. You said, hope everything goes to an end. It would be better to say, hope everything comes to an end. I hope it comes to an end quickly. And we do too. We agree. We hope you're managing the situation well and that it's not too disruptive for you in your life. And thanks very much for getting in touch. It's really nice to hear from people and how they're getting on with the situation at the moment, the current crisis. Reza, many people are staying at home. Maybe they're a bit bored. They're sitting at home wondering how they can best make use of their time. Can you think of anything that they could do to improve their English while they're stuck at home during this current crisis?
Well, apart from listening to our podcast, it might be a good idea to continue with classes with a teacher. Now, you might think, well, how can I do that? How am I going to meet a teacher? It's illegal in times of coronavirus confinement. Well, that's where italki comes in. With italki, all you need is an internet connection. With italki, you just go to the website, check the information there about the different teachers, their timetable, their experience, how much they charge. You'll find a whole range of different features for each teacher, including accents. When you come across a teacher who you think's right for you and can give you a class at the time you want, it's up to you. You decide. Give it a go. Try them on Skype or some other type of online conferencing platform from the comfort of your own home. What's more, if you register through the link in our show notes and you sign up for your first class, then italki will give you a free $10 credit to start your classes. So, what's stopping you? There's never been a better time than now. Give italki a go.
And many people are investing in their future by studying at the moment. I have some friends who are doing courses online. So why not improve your English and start planning for when this crisis is over with italki? Thank you very much, italki, for sponsoring Aprender Inglés con Reza y Craig. Next, we have a voice message from another English teacher, from Andres, who is teaching from his home in Colombia. I don't know if he's using italki or if he's teaching his classes, but here's his comments about our recent episode on Costa Rica.
Hi Reza, hi Greg. This is Andres from Chía, Colombia. Chía is a little town at north of Bogota. So we are fine here. We are working at home. And well, I wanted to tell you that I'm teacher too, and I'm doing my classes from my home. So this is something new, but well, I'm trying to do my best for the students. And also wanted to tell you that I'm so glad to hear that you guys are going to do your next episode about Costa Rica. This is an amazing place. I was there working as a teacher too, in a city that calls Palmares. It's a little city. And they have a lovely idiomatic expression that is pura vida. That is a way to say everything is fine, everything is good, but is also a way to say hello, and also is a way to say goodbye. So yeah, everything there is pura vida. And well, I hope you can maybe tell us about these kind of things. And also you have to try this special dish from Costa Rica that calls gallo pinto. That is like a breakfast, is an amazing dish. So yeah, that's it. Thanks so much for your podcast.
Thank you very much, Andres, for sending in your feedback on the Costa Rica episode. That was inglespodcast.com/305. If you'd like to go and listen to that episode. Did you hear that expression, pura vida?
Yes, I like that. I'd never heard that before, but I really like that. Pura vida.
Pura vida. Yeah, I didn't know that. So thanks for letting us know. I will use that whenever I meet anyone in the future from Costa Rica. And now to the main focus of this podcast, a story that we've received from José about his neighbor called Manolo. Now, José has sent us stories before, so thank you very much, José, for sending us this one as well. And before we play this for you to listen to, we want to look at some vocabulary that José uses as he's telling his story. Reza, what vocabulary should we share with the listeners?
Well, let's start off with a very nice descriptive expression. José said his back is bent. His back is bent. Bent is the past participle of bend, B-E-N-D, and bent, B-E-N-T, is the past participle. It means curved. In other words, not straight.
So it's usually with old people, isn't it, when they're walking and they're bent over because they can't straighten their back and they look very old and bent.
Exactly.
probably people who are old and bent and their back is bent, very often they walk with a cane, C-A-N-E, or sometimes we say a walking stick, a cane or a walking stick, un bastón.
Another description he mentions is sideburns. Sideburns. Now, this is nothing to do with fire, getting burnt by fire, no. Sideburns describes the hair at the side of a face, usually a man's face.
Usually.
Usually, yeah.
Have you ever met a woman with sideburns?
Well, I have actually, yeah. I have.
An ex-girlfriend, perhaps?
No, it wasn't an ex-girlfriend. This girl wasn't my cup of tea, to be honest. But yeah, I mean, there's different tastes for everybody. There may be some people who like to see sideburns on a lady, but generally speaking, it's gentlemen who might have sideburns. So if you can imagine a beard, but you shave off all the beard, except the little bit that kind of is in front of your ears. That little bit of the beard, which is in front of your ears, on your face, in front of your ears, that's the sideburns. In other words, it's on the side of your face. So sideburns, the hair on the side of your face.
Like Elvis Presley. Have you ever had sideburns?
I have, yeah. For many, many years, I had sideburns without a beard. Yeah. What do you think? Do you like sideburns?
I have no particular opinion. I don't dislike them. I've never had them. I've never felt like I wanted to leave that part of my face hairy. So when I shave or I don't shave. So I've never had a moustache. I've never had sideburns. I've had a beard occasionally, but I usually shave the beard off after a few weeks. But no, sideburns, never. It's more from the 40s and 50s. It was really in fashion during rock and roll and that kind of era in America and the UK.
Yeah. And also if you go way back before that, in the Victorian era as well, if you go back to about,
Yes.
1860, 70, 1880, also big, really bushy sideburns with a lot of hair were very typical then as well.
Speaking of hair and bushy, your eyebrows are your tejas, the eyebrows, the hair that is above your eyes. And if that hair is very thick, or as Reza said, bushy, if you have bushy eyebrows, you maybe look a little bit like the actor Colin Farrell, because his eyebrows are very bushy, very thick above the eyes.
Another word that José uses in his story is stretcher. Stretcher. Now, that word might confuse you because if you know the verb to stretch, that means to make something longer or as long as possible. For example, at home, it's a good idea to stretch to make sure you get plenty of exercise. If you can't get out, at least do a few stretches. Yeah, move your body, make it as long as you can. Make your arms, your back, your legs stretch out, make them long. Okay, that's the verb to stretch. But a stretcher is not a person who does that. A stretcher is an object. It's an object where you put a person, you stretch out the person. So, in other words, it's like a bed, but it's like a portable bed. So, it could be very simple. A stretcher could be just like two pieces of wood and in the middle, some piece of material where you could put a body. So, in a war or maybe at a sports event, if somebody gets injured, you might have to put them on a stretcher, yeah, so the body's stretched out, it's horizontal, and take them away. That's a stretcher.
And if someone is very, very sick or very ill on a stretcher, maybe you pray for them. José uses the verb to pray, P-R-A-Y, rezar in Spanish. But be careful because pray can also be a noun, but it has a different spelling, P-R-E-Y. So pray, P-R-E-Y, is presa. And especially when you go hunting, you could use that noun. For example, a lion eats its prey, P-R-E-Y. So don't mix the spellings. P-R-E-Y is the noun and to pray, P-R-A-Y. Of course, the noun of rezar is prayer. So you give a prayer or make a prayer to God and you pray and hope that the coronavirus goes away soon.
And be careful if you use internet a lot, because hackers and other people prey on people who don't take precautions. So this is the verb prey that Craig mentioned. Yeah, so it can be a noun or a verb. To prey on or prey upon is to hunt someone or use them as your prey, as your presser. So be careful. Hackers prey on people who don't have good passwords, who are not careful with their webcam, etc. Be careful that hackers don't prey on you. So make sure you've got good internet security.
Okay, that vocabulary should help you with José's story. But before you listen, we have got 3 comprehension questions for you. So we're going to read some questions. You could either write them down quickly with pen and paper, or if you go to inglespodcast.com/308, you can see the questions in the show notes. So listen to the questions, listen to José's story, and then try to answer the questions as you're listening, and write them down so that we can check with you after. Reza, what's question number 1?
The first question is, where does Manolo live?
Question number 2, how did José and Manolo intend to stay in touch during the lockdown? How did José and Manolo intend to stay in touch during the virus lockdown?
And the third question is, who does José say are one group of heroes in this current fight against the coronavirus?
Okay, now we'll listen to the story. Remember, you can pause and write down the answers as you're listening. Just pause your audio player. Or you could listen 2 or 3 times if you don't get the answer to all 3 questions. So now listen to Elderly Manolo by José Molina Marco.
I'm going to read a story about something that happened to me and a neighbor called Manolo. Manolo is an elderly man who is a good person. He's around 90 years old. He's living alone because his only son is living in Canada. Let me describe him to give you an idea of how he looks. He's a lonely man and he had to be strong, tall, but currently his back is a little bent because of his age. He walks without a cane, slowly but firmly. His face is square, with black eyes. They used to be big, but not anymore. He has a lot of black hair combed back. His sideburns are grey, like his mustache. His eyebrows are bushy and grey, showing how elderly he is. He is a tidy person, polite and talkative about interesting things. He lives 2 floors above me, and I usually see him when he goes for a walk. Once he told me that he used to go almost every day to the market to buy some fresh food. Then, when we arrived home, he cooked what he had bought. This showed me that Manolo was also a stable person. Because of this quarantine, we have to be locked down at home. I thought that he had to take a special care of himself, so I went up to his home and offered to help him with anything that he needed. We exchanged our telephone numbers. 10 days later, I was bored at home and I went out my balcony to spend some time outside. It was noon. Nobody was on the street. No cars, just the sun shining. I thought it was a pity that we couldn't take the advantage of this beautiful day. It was such a silence that I could hear the 12 chimes of one neighbor's clock. The only different thing I could see was one ambulance going along the street. The ambulance driver is one of our daily heroes that work for all of us. It stopped in front of the door of my building. I was wondering what it was doing there. 10 or 15 minutes later, they went out with Manolo on a stretcher. I could see his face from my balcony. I felt sad. Manolo didn't call me for help. He had managed himself to go to the hospital. Now he will be there alone like millions of people. I don't know if I will be able to see him again. Last night I prayed for him and for all people who are alone in the hospital.
Wasn't that a lovely story, Reza? Well, lovely in the sense that it was very well written, very well told, and very touching. If something's touching, it's not physically touching you. It's maybe touching your heart in a very sentimental way. What did you think?
Yes, Manolo's story was very touching. I hope there's a happy ending to the story. It ends up in the air. We don't know exactly what's happened to Manolo. I hope he survives. I hope he's well. But yes, it's a lovely story, a story of solidarity, because José wanted to help someone for altruistic reasons. He didn't expect anything in return. He just wanted to help. So it's a very nice story.
And also very relevant these days with everybody speaking and thinking about the coronavirus. Let's look at the answers to the questions we gave you earlier. Number one, where does Manolo live, Reza?
He lives 2 floors above José. So in the same apartment block, 2 floors above José.
And how did José Manolo intend to stay in touch during the lockdown?
Well, they intended to stay in touch by phone. They exchanged numbers. They didn't actually ring each other, but they did exchange numbers.
And finally, number 3, who does José say are one group of heroes in this current fight against the coronavirus?
The ambulance drivers is the answer. Of course, there are many possible heroes, but the one José mentioned was ambulance drivers.
I also think the police these days, I mean, I'm not typically a huge fan of the police in any country, to be honest, but I really admire the way the police are being very strict and very careful with the way they're making people stay at home and the way that they're making sure that we don't spread the virus. So I just want to say well done to the police, at least in my area.
Yes, me too. They are acting with exactly the right professionalism from what I can see in my area. They're being strict, but they're also being understanding. Mm-hmm. They're not just, being really hard on people for no reason, but they are quite rightly being hard on people who are being silly and not thinking of others from what I can see. In fact, I'll tell you what happened the other day in my street. As usual, people gathered on their balconies at 8 o'clock to clap, to applaud healthcare workers, which has been happening every day since the lockdown here in Spain and also in France and I think in a few other countries as well. Well, they did that as usual at 8 o'clock. And it just so happened that at about 10 past 8, a police car drove past. So people had just stopped clapping for the health workers, but then they started again when they saw the police, as a kind of thank you for your work as well. And then they stopped when the police car went round the corner. And then they started again, a third time, to clap when some people wheeling bins walked past.
What's a bin?
A bin is for rubbish, a rubbish bin. So they were the road sweepers, people who keep the roads clean. Very, very important job, especially in times of coronavirus. And they were given their applause as well. So in the space of 10 minutes, 3 different groups of people were applauded in my street. 3 different groups of heroes.
Exactly. 3 different groups of heroes who are all helping to keep the country running. I had an experience last week with the police because I needed to travel by car an hour and a half on the motorway to visit my brother-in-law, who's unfortunately very, very sick. And he needed me to take him to the hospital. And I was stopped twice by the police, and they were very, very strict with me. They were very firm, very professional, but polite. And I really respected the way that they questioned me, and then they did not fine me, so I was lucky. They admitted that I had a good reason to travel, but they're doing their job very, very well. So with Manolo's story, which we both agree was very well told and very well written, there were one or two things that maybe José could improve for next time. Reza, what do you have?
Yes, we understood everything, José. Great story, but a few little things to do with grammar or vocabulary. You said that Manolo, you said he is living alone. Perhaps it's better to say he lives alone. His only son is living in Canada. His only son lives in Canada. Present simple there, lives, is better than is living, because I suppose it's a more or less permanent situation. It's not temporary. So present simple lives is better for that.
Also, the expression to take advantage. You actually said take the advantage, but the expression is to take advantage of. So it should be take advantage of this beautiful day, to take advantage of something.
Another thing you said, which wasn't incorrect, but it could be said in a better way, you wrote, "It was such a silence that I could hear the chimes of the neighbour's clock." Okay, but maybe it'd be better to say, "It was such a silent day." Or perhaps, "There was such silence that I could hear the chimes of the neighbour's clock." Sounds a little bit better.
And you also said one ambulance, which everybody understands, but you could also transmit the same message by saying an ambulance, because the article a or an means one. So when it's one, it's always a pen, a teacher, a desk, or an ambulance. It just sounds a bit more natural. But it's a wonderful story. In fact, José has sent us stories in the past. He did send us one about his dog, Captain. I don't know if you remember that, Reza. That was back in episode 214.
Oh, I do. As a dog lover, someone who likes dogs a lot, I remember Captain's story very well.
So if you want to listen to another one of José's stories, go to inglespodcast.com/214. And if you have a story that you'd like to send us, particularly about how you're living at the moment, and anything that you'd like to tell us in a similar way, we could make an episode focused around your story. But we do suggest, before you do that, please go and listen to an episode we did specifically about how to tell a story in English. And that was episode 137. So go to inglespodcast.com/137, listen to that, and then we'd be more than happy to help you improve your stories in English if you send them to us in audio format. How can they do that, Reza? How can they send us their stories?
Well, our favourite way of hearing from you is by audio. So if you go to speakpipe.com/English podcast, you can leave a voice message and you get to practice your English. And we'll maybe give you a little bit of feedback if we can help you with that.
Don't forget, if you do use the SpeakPipe service, you only have 90 seconds. In fact, what José did, because his story was a little longer, was that he recorded it into his computer or phone or device as an MP3 and then attached the audio file to an email. So if your story is a bit longer, that's okay. Just remember that we only have 90 seconds on SpeakPipe.
Craig, what if they want to write?
So the emails go to me, Craig, at inglespodcast.com, or if you write to Reza, he is at belfastreza@gmail.com. Also, if you'd like to visit the online store of Mansion Inglés, you can find courses, paid courses, to download and listen while you're stuck at home improving your English. Go to store.mansioningles.net.
And as ever, we'd like to thank all our Patreon supporters. They're the people who voluntarily donate money as little as $1 a month to help support this podcast. And for doing that, they can get all the audio transcriptions for all the episodes. We'd like to thank every single one of them. However, if we did that, we wouldn't have enough time. So sadly, we have to limit our thanks to just our most recent supporters who've joined us recently. Who are they, Craig?
Our recent supporters on Patreon are José Manuel, Santiago Casas Rey, Matorel, Ana Ruiz Cáceres, BM, who very generously donated $4 a month, Paulina B, Karina Corrales, Belén, José, Ana Paula Morella, Marisol, and Miguel Garcia de Leon. Thank you very much, all of you.
And if somebody wants to become a sponsor, Craig, how can they do that?
For as little as $1 a month, they just go to patreon.com/inglespodcast and you'll get instant access to recent transcriptions. And I'm pleased to say that we are up to date with the transcriptions. So within a week or two, you'll be able to see the transcriptions delivered personally to your email inbox.
I'm glad to hear we're up to date on the transcriptions. It's a lot of work to transcribe everything. I had a funny feeling that we would get totally up to date in the transcriptions during the lockdown. Before we were a little bit behind because we're very busy people. And, Craig has a lot of things to do and he's been very generously doing the transcriptions. But I had a feeling that the lockdown might help you get up to date there.
Well, it's given me something to do. Actually, I should be a bit more specific. I am up to date with transcribing every episode, but not all of the latest episodes have been published because I don't want your inbox to be full of emails from Patreon, because I upload the transcriptions to Patreon and automatically Patreon sends you an email. So we had a case last week of one supporter who was supporting us because they like what we do and they want to support us, but they did not want the email every time we add a transcription. So if that is your case, then please go to the Patreon website and it's very easy to unsubscribe from Patreon's emails. So although you're supporting us, and we thank you very much, you do have the option on the Patreon website to not get an email every time there's a transcription posted. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's perfect sense.
What's next week, Reza?
On next week's episode, we'll be answering questions on all the feedback we've been getting, because recently we've received a lot of feedback. So it'll be a special episode answering your recent questions.
So we're looking forward to that, and thank you very much. If you're sending us feedback, please continue to do so. We love hearing from you. Thank you for listening this week. Until next time, it's goodbye from me.
And it's goodbye from me.